Live from downtown Detroit, home of WDIV and Click on Detroit, Local 4 News at noon starts now.
The search continues for a gunman after a 2-year-old is killed and another child in the hospital after a shooting along I-75 in Detroit. Plus, restrictions at the U.S. and Canada border extended again for another month, but there could be some good news next week for fully vaccinated Canadians. But we begin with Storm Tracker 4 on your Friday. Local forecasters tracking severe storms that could be headed our way this afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us for Local 4 News at noon. Meteorologist Brandon Rue has been analyzing all the models all morning long. How are we looking, Brandon?
It was easy to track the rain as it was coming and going. For the rest of the day, it's more about the pop-up variety and no real rhyme or reason to exactly where and when stuff could fire. But this is a replay of that just badly needed garden variety rain and thunder that came through. Current radar shows that it's now even to the east of London, Ontario, and we're even starting to see some pockets of clearing, which will really boost temperatures, and that's not necessarily a good thing because the fuel to severe weather could be in the heat of the afternoon. Upper 60s to low 70s, temps haven't moved a whole lot, but we still have this marginal and slight risk of severe weather, mainly through the mid and late afternoon. Should get into those middle 80s. Just keep an eye to the skies. Again, after 2 p.m., popping up with the heat of the afternoon. You can see here on the model about 4 or 5 p.m. I don't think we're going to see a ton of storms, but any that form will be strong to perhaps severe. So coming up, we'll track more on the severe chances today. A new severe risk tomorrow, your complete Juneteenth and Father's Day weekend. In the meantime, the Local Forecasters app, your greatest weapon and tool with severe weather, any kind of weather. Rhonda, it's absolutely free under WDIV in your app store.
All right, thank you, Brandon. Our other top story this noon is the search for a gunman. It continues this noon in a freeway shooting that killed a 2-year-old child and injured another. The shooting happened late last night on I-75 near McNichols. The children were immediately rushed to Children's Hospital in downtown Detroit. Grant Herms joins us now live. And Grant, I understand that you just spoke to Michigan State Police. Are they helpful with who we're looking for?
Well, they're really working to find this shooter, but unfortunately they are short on information this afternoon. There's just a lack of detail from that shooting last night, but here's what we know. It happened around 9:45 last night on I-75. A father and his 2 children were on their way home from some kind of an event. That's when someone in a light-colored sedan, possibly a Chrysler 300, pulled alongside their car and opened fire as they passed 7 Mile. The father was able to pull off on McNichols after realizing his 2 children, ages 2 and 9 years old, had been shot. Both children were rushed to the hospital. Unfortunately, that 2-year-old was pronounced dead when they arrived. The 9-year-old, it appears, according to MSP, has suffered non-life-threatening injuries. At our last check last night, that 9-year-old was in critical condition. This is the latest, though, in a string of freeway shootings and escalating gun violence as we head toward the summer months here. And Michigan State Police are asking for help to turn down the heat.
My biggest fear through all these instances of gun violence was some innocent child was going to get hurt or killed. And now, unfortunately, it's come true.
And state police are asking drivers to remain vigilant while they're on the freeways. They don't mean stay armed yourselves. They mean if you see someone driving aggressively around you or acting aggressively toward you, just exit the freeway and wait for them to pass, or you can always call 911. In downtown Detroit, Grant Herms, Local 4.
All right, Grant, thank you. 2 people are also in the hospital after another freeway shooting. This happened overnight along the southbound lanes of the Southfield Freeway near Plymouth. 2 victims are being treated at the hospital. We're also waiting for an update on their conditions. Detroit police are still investigating what led up to this shooting as well. New at noon, the U.S.-Canada border travel restrictions have been extended again, another month until July 21st. The non-essential international travel restrictions were set to expire on Monday. However, there could be good news next week. Measures for fully vaccinated Canadians, permanent residents, and others are allowed to enter Canada will be announced on Monday. A CBC report says that Canada's federal government is planning to roll out the first phase of its COVID vaccine certification program for travelers entering the country as soon as next month. We have learned that a businessman charged with ex-Macomb County prosecutor Eric Smith will now testify against him. Smith was charged last year with 10 felonies after investigators estimated nearly $600,000 had been embezzled since 2012 through inappropriate use of forfeiture accounts. This morning, William Weber, owner of Weber Security Group, pleaded guilty to falsifying an invoice at Smith's request. By pleading guilty, other charges against Weber were dismissed. As for Smith, he's back in court July 9th. The state's remaining COVID restrictions are going to be lifted next week. Michigan's mask mandate and restaurant capacity limits will be lifted on Tuesday. And that's about a week and a half before that original date of July 1st, before the state reaches the governor's initial goal of a 70% vaccination rate. Where are we now across the state? 60.8% of adults have been vaccinated. Some COVID orders for prisons, long-term care will remain in effect, however, and guidance for schools will be released next week. Millions of Americans are off work today after President Biden signed a law making Juneteenth, June 19th, a federal holiday, recognizing the end of slavery. Only 14 Republicans voted against it, and that's actually giving some hope of compromise on other issues. Tracy Potts explains more from Washington.
There are some signs of compromise here on Capitol Hill on voting rights, on infrastructure, but they're far from certain. A majority of Democrats and Republicans voted yes on the law that makes Juneteenth a federal holiday.
The bill is passed.
Recognizing the end of slavery. President Biden says it's a start.
We can't rest till the promise of equality is fulfilled for every one of us in every corner of this nation.
For Democrats, that means taking action on voting rights. Their For the People bill is stuck in the Senate, in part because Democrat Joe Manchin won't vote for it. He's offering a compromise backed by voting rights advocate Stacey Abrams.
It's an important step forward as we try to protect the freedom to vote.
Democrats plan a test vote Tuesday. Republican leaders are opposed.
I just don't think the federal government should take over managing local elections, no matter how you do it.
There's also a compromise in the works on infrastructure. 11 Republicans, 9 Democrats, and 1 independent are pitching a $1.2 trillion plan that focuses on roads, bridges, rail, and transit.
This is merely a framework. This is a plan, and it's a plan that I hope we remain somewhat faithful to.
I still feel confident we'll have something by Monday.
It would be paid for in part with unspent COVID funds. And Democrats are still considering changing the rules so they can push through some of this legislation without any Republican votes. I'm Tracy Potts.
All right, Tracy, thank you. Here at home, the Washtenaw County Administration and Board of Commissioners held a program this morning in observance of Juneteenth that happened inside of the county building on North Main Street in Ann Arbor. Earlier this month, the board passed a resolution recognizing the significance of Juneteenth and encouraged residents to celebrate and reflect on the history of the holiday. The program included remarks from local youth, community members, and faith leaders. And you can find a complete list. There are a lot of events happening associated with the special Juneteenth weekend, and we have a special section right there on our website at clickondetroit.com if you want to take part in some of the activities. The City of Detroit announces a new partnership with the Marygrove Conservancy. The partnership includes a creative workforce census and a new home for the Office of Arts, Culture, and Entrepreneurship. Today's event also included a surprise performance from the Detroit Youth Choir. How awesome is that? It's going to be another tough weekend to get around Metro Detroit thanks to construction. So here's Kim DeGiulio with everything you need to know.
Happy Friday, everyone. We have a closure to get around for this weekend. The northbound lanes of I-75 will close between Schaefer and Clark. That closure starts tonight at 9 o'clock, reopening Monday morning at 5 a.m., just before your morning drive. So to get around this one, you can take northbound Southfield Road to eastbound I-94, take I-94 to eastbound I-96, which will get you right back onto I-75, or you can also use Fort Street instead. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Duly noted. Thank you, Kim. Still to come, a data breach hits the world's largest cruise ship operator. Find out what information hackers may have gotten on their hands. And the race against time to get more people vaccinated for COVID-19, why health experts fear the Delta variant may become the most dominant strain here in the U.S.